morning. Welcome to Pink Sock Shed TV. You know, I've literally just spent the last minute as the countdown has been on in front of you. You watching that, panicking about who's going to be interested in this, who wants to know about me, and the reason why today is a show with just me. Not that you knew about that, is because, plan A is that I have somebody to interview, always the plan. We go through it, they come on here, we check the audio, we check the visuals and make sure it's all looking okay. But plan A couldn't happen. Bits and bobs happen and, sometimes it just doesn't take place. So it's just me. And I thought, who's going to be interested in me? Who's going to want to know about me? And actually, I suppose, when I interview people, a lot of the time they ask me about me. What do you do? How come you do this? Why is it that you do this? What have you done before? And everything. And I'm just like, well, I tell them, of course. And then, people ask me questions. So what I'm going to do is look back over what people have asked me and generally tell you a little bit about me and how I got here. And then tell you about the new venture that I've got going on at the moment, which is it's making pesto. It's something I've done for years because the shop stuff just makes me gag. It's disgusting. So I make my own, and it's been in the fridge for years. Not the same one, obviously, but I just keep making it. Kids love it. And then I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make it into something, make it into a bit of a business. And that's what I've been working on for the past month. In fact, it reminds me of when we chatted with Charlotte from Charlotte Worth Coaching about how sometimes we just feel that there is the need to go down a different path, a different route, and Charlotte did that with her coaching. She worked at the BBC for years and years, we're talking 20 years plus. And after having children, priorities change, job satisfaction changes sometimes, and you just think beyond what you've been doing and you want to do something else. And I suppose for me, since having children, that's what I've done. I've tried to find things that I'm good at, things that I can do, things that reward me and make me feel good and actually worth it, I suppose, because, you have children, you work from home, excuse me, or you are a stay-at-home mum. Your worth can sometimes completely plummet. So I've tried over the last 10 years at least to find something I'm good at and find something I do well. And actually making pesto is one thing. Now, I love my TV show, and I'll tell you how I got to be doing all of this as well. The first thing, though, I have to say is a really big happy 14th birthday to my son, Oscar. He's at school at the moment. He got up nice and early, as he does. He's pretty good at that. And he had his presents. We've got balloons. In fact, I'm not sitting where I normally sit, the other side of the kitchen, because it's a little bit chaotic. Full of stuff, rubbish, and I just thought, I'll sit down, make it a bit more comfortable for me. But it's his birthday today. He's 14. He was born at 24 weeks and 1 day's gestation. She was actually born 4 months early. His due date was the 18th of August. So even though he'd have been in this school year, the same school year, he came along rather unexpectedly. So it is a complete and utter amazing feat that he is, firstly, alive. Secondly, he's really, really healthy and really, really well. And we are very proud of this boy. He's 14 today. Oh, blimey, don't tell him that though, will you? Right, so let's take it back a little bit. So over the last 10 years or so, since not been working, I've done various things like garden design. I put myself through a 3D sketching course. In fact, I 3D modelled a friend's house. I designed their garden. I've done things like massage therapy, which actually I still do in a way. I'm still a massage therapist. I set up my own business with that. Life changes take place. I kind of, went a bit mentally, not off the rails, but didn't have a great time at various points, and things fizzled into just existing, doing a pretty bad job of keeping the house tidy, pretty bad job of keeping the house clean. And then I kind of, what are you good at? What do you want to do? And it was in January, it wasn't in January, it was last year when all of this pandemic happened, that, when everybody, was supporting the key workers, and we would do a bit of baking. I did some baking for some friends. They were key workers. One was an A&E nurse, still is an A&E nurse at the JR, and the other one is the head of pharmacy at the JR actually. So I did a bit of baking, and my meagre offerings, and the my friend who's head of pharmacy, his name's Boo. I said, well, how many people do you actually have working for you? Thinking that next week I ought to up my game and supply just a few more things. And he actually said he had over 300. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. I can't really bake 300 cakes. And even buying 300, worth of, 20, 30 packets of biscuits, that'd just be a bit daft. So I thought about how can we all do something together, celebrate something together, like an afternoon tea or, an 11s, something like that. And I thought, well, you know what, we can't all be together at the moment physically. So what about being together, but just remotely? So I set up a Facebook group, which was called the Great Big Afternoon Tea Party. And within a week, there were over 500 people that had joined. And on the day of the afternoon that I scheduled as an event, there were over 500 people that had afternoon tea at the same time. So whether it was a case of they took something to work and had it, or whether they put a spread on at home, or whether they just had a packet of biscuits, it was all about joining together pretty much at the same time, whether you're in the UK or overseas. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, let's have afternoon tea and let's celebrate what we're thankful for with what was going on at that time. This was in April. In fact, I think it was April the 29th, because I'd made the night before a 13th birthday cake for Oscar. So, and we had some of that as leftovers with our afternoon tea. So it was the 29th of April, a year ago. Crikey, well done. And it was to, post pictures of what you'd done and to bring, I suppose, the foodie community together by means of having an afternoon tea. And the following Friday, we had an afternoon tea because that was to celebrate VE Day. And then I changed the name of the group because we couldn't really have many more afternoon teas. So the Great Big Afternoon Tea Party turned into the Great Big Fodder Fest. Now, fodder being food and drink, which was a bit of a mouthful. So I was never really quite confident with the name of that group sort of taking off and working. But we turned into a really great foodie community. We did events. So we did events like a French night, a fakeaway night, Thai takeaway night, curry night, pizza night, burger night, fish supper, tapas night. We had many events that that would take place on a Friday or a Saturday, and it was fabulous. It was amazing. We all used to support each other, and in between these events, we would bake things, put pictures on. Everybody would be very complimentary of everybody else's efforts, and it just carried on like that, and it was really fabulous. And over time, the events got a little bit less. It got frequented a little bit less. People still supported. And in the group, I suppose, even though it's over 600 strong now, people don't engage as much, and that's fine, because we're all getting a bit more back to normal, and we're not in the same place that we were at just over a year ago. And since then, I was thinking, well, how can we make it something that people will engage with a bit more? So in June last year, I changed their name to Pink Salt Shed. Pink salt because I use it in food, salt because I'm a salter, pink, I like the colour pink, and shed because I was just thinking of, well, to be honest, a groovy word for kitchen. So Pink Salt Shed is my Pink Salt Shed here. And we carried on talking about food, and it's been fabulous. Absolutely loved it. And in January this year, that's the January I refer to, I told everybody, or I sort of broadcasted, if you like, that actually what we could do is talk about all things instead of it just being food. We have so much more in common. Every day is either a work day, it's a home day, it's a kids' day, it's a family day, it's news, it's technology, it's reading, it's art, it's literature, it's everything that combines life. So let's talk about everything to do with life. And then coming from that was me doing this show, Chat So, talking to people about all things life. Not every subject in every show, but of course lots of different subjects by people that know their thing, or that are very passionate about what they do, whether they're educated in it or just enthusiastic about it or experienced in it. So that's how I've brought to you over the last few weeks these shows to talk to you about interesting stuff. And during that time, I've also been making pesto. And this pesto has been going down really well wherever I've taken it. So at the moment, I'm making pesto that sells in shops locally. So I make it, sell it to the shops, and the shops sell it to you, the customer. And it's just going a little bit bonkers. In fact, I've, probably whilst I'm doing this, I'm going to have a jar delivery of about 500 jars. I hope not, because, it's like really timing. But so, yes, so my roots are probably food. I'm a big foodie. I love eating it. In fact, I live to eat. I don't eat to live. I love food, and that was probably what made the Great Big Afternoon Tea Party, the Great Big Fodder Fest, really quite successful, because I would talk about food a lot. And having digressed from food slightly, the Facebook group Pink Salt Shed, it's great, but it's not there's not so much activity on it. So if you want to hop on and do it again, great. I've also set up the Facebook page Pink Salt Shed TV, so I think that's where I might have started to confuse things. I suppose I might go back to how I might just do a bit of a rejig of everything. But at the moment, I've cut this show down to one show a week, because I've just got to make so much pesto. I'm just up to my eyes in it. And recently I've set up a website, www.pinksaltshed.com. So have a look at that, because it gives you more information about my glorious green stuff. In fact, I do various flavours. The ones on the shelf at the moment are basil, so I call it Purest Green Basil Pesto. That's just Blackadder 2, Percy, discovers Purest Green, and I think my basil discovery of pesto, well, not my discovery of pesto, but my basil pesto is a bit like Purest Green. And then I do a red chili pesto as well. I've got other flavours that are chestnut sage and chestnut mushroom, sage and walnut. I've got sun-dried tomatoes. I've got coriander and cashew nut. There is also wild rocket. There is wild garlic as well. So yes, that makes 7 flavours. So there's produce all over the place. In fact, a friend of mine recently got rid of a fridge, and I bagsed that, so that's in the shed now, full of stuff. So things. My point is, I don't have much of a point, but what I'm saying is, sometimes what we do changes, and sometimes what we think we need to be doing isn't always what we should be doing. And I think over the last few years, I've definitely struggled with where my niche lies. I'm quite creative, I suppose, and my mind is a bit of a flitty mind. It flits from one thing to the other, to the other, to the other. And my husband would probably always, say, roll his eyes when I say I've got a new venture or there's something else I want to do. But what I'm doing with this is I'm sticking with it all. That's what I'm doing. It's about time I decided to just settle, I think, and get on with it. So my Pink Salt Shed TV is still very, very strong. I love doing that. My pesto creation is going to get bigger and better, and it's going to go further or farther and wider with its distribution. I'm setting up a production kitchen in some barns that we're converting at the moment. And in that kitchen is going to be everything I need to make my glorious pesto. There's going to be a sofa in it. There's going to be a computer in it. There's going to be a kettle in it. There's going to be a light in it. There's going to be a table in it. And that's where we're going to literally be Pink Salt Shed. So everything is going to come together. The TV show might have a bit more of a food emphasis, I think, because that is my thing, interspersed with some really great shows with people that have got a lot to tell us, a lot to share with us, stuff that's very poignant and very timely. And that's where we're going to be based. So I will be updating you with what's going on. I'll be showing you pictures about what we're doing over at the barns. In fact, on Friday next week, we've got the concrete slab being poured. So we've got many cubic meters of concrete arriving to do the slab, and then we've got insulation, then we've got underfloor heating, and then we've got the screed, which is going to be the finish. It's all very, very exciting. And I just wanted to share that with you. I mean, probably because I was just, a bit worried about not having a show to give you today. But hey, you know, sometimes those things happen. But hopefully it's been a bit interesting, a little bit different. And it's only lasted about 15 minutes as well. Let me show you, actually, let me show you. I always forget this bit. So this is what I do. You will see that I have a Facebook group which is called Pink Salt Shed. All right, that is the group that talks about all things. I have a Pink Salt Shed TV page which talks about everything TV, and I've got a Pink Salt Shed page as well, which is all about this. This, you know, it's all about my homemade pesto sauces. So there is going to be some change with how they're combined and how they morph into maybe one thing. I think that's really quite important, otherwise it gets just a little bit confusing. All right, but I do have the website pinksaltshed.com, and I do have my Instagram account, which I set up last year. In fact, I'm quite proud of this because my Instagram account is basically my food. It's my food brought to you. Whether it's pretty plates chucked together, it's all about my kind of food. Now, I mean, I love cooking. I'm not a Michelin star calibered cook, and I don't do anything particularly adventurous either. But check that out, have a little look, because it is something I enjoy. And I think part of why I enjoy it is because, you know, we've always been a family to have many friends around, impromptu gatherings, and we love to entertain. And with entertaining, what I enjoy doing is feeding people. And I try, where time allows, I try and feed people my homemade creations. And generally it goes down really well. So that is why I set up the Instagram account as well, because really I wasn't able to feed anybody apart from my own family over the last year. It's been very, very weird, actually. I love these impromptu gatherings, and if they can't come to me, well, I can bring my food to everybody else, I suppose. I digress slightly. Anyhow, next week, not quite sure what's happening next week on the show. The following week, I'm very excited about, because we're talking to Sarah and Lisa from the Red Lion pub, my local pub in Long Compton. It's going to be opening again. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. They have put in fact, they've refurbished, they have extended, and they've got their own brand new kitchen. So I would love to be on location for that. I'm not quite sure how that will work, but I'll bring you lots of pictures anyway. But we're going to talk to them about how it's been over the last year. They are not opening on the 17th of May. It's going to be slightly delayed into June. So how have they coped? How have they been? And, when can I book the bay window table? People will know that's a bit of a joke in our village. The bay window table, we like that because it's kind of the biggest, and it's where you're in the lounge. You can have all your friends around, and it's just quite a groovy place to while away a Friday night and a Saturday afternoon. But have a great week. If anybody wants to be on the show next Friday, let me know. I've got a few irons in the fire, a few conversations I'm having, but let me know if you expressly want to bag that spot. That's Friday the 7th. And then, of course, we've got Sarah and Lisa from the Red Lion pub the following Friday. But until then, have a great week. Enjoy yourselves, and take care. And thank you for watching and putting up with me just spieling about me. How self-indulgent. Have a great week.